Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here. And in today's video, we're talking about Passover. We got two people looking. We already at a minute 15. I'd like to give you guys an opportunity to come in. Make sure we are live. You can let me know you hear me by hitting the like button. I don't know if anybody can hear me yet. Let me go get my computer. Make sure I can hear them. We're going to be talking about when it is. We're going to be talking about why it is. We're talking about where it is, who it is, how it is. Any kind of question you got about it, that is. We're going to let you answer the questions. Ask the questions. Alright. That was a mic check. Alright, so we can hear me loud and clear. We got Elijah 144 said hi. What up, Elijah 144? Appreciate you stopping by. That's important. Because not everybody gets to hear this message live. A lot of people will hear it past tense. And it's like being at church, right? Because this is a church. I am a Ra'asha in between the Chawatas. So this is a church. And one thing about a church, you don't really want to be in a church, the only person in a church. You know what I mean? Unless you got a message for the pastor. But if the pastor got a message for you, you don't really want to be, or if the message got something. You don't want to be the only one there. And a lot of people who listen past tense would think that they were the only one there if it were not for people like Elijah 144 who jumps on and says, hey, I'm here already. Even before the door is closed. He says, Shalom, coach. All right, let's see what he says next. I thought we had to wait until, he got a question. Let me get my computer straight. I thought we had to wait until the first new moon after the spring equinox when the sun and the moon are together in the fourth gate. If so, that hasn't happened yet. All right, cool. Let's talk about it. Because what he's saying is that we're still in wintertime. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. And the ultimate thing of him saying that, somebody's going to have 3 Passovers this year. Yeah. We got somebody calling out there. I'm going to have to talk to them later. I might have to call them back. Boom, ba-da, boom, 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 da-dum-dum. Very interesting. What? I'm blowing up, y'all. I'm blowing up. Anyway. Yeah, so that would add another layer of this whole confusion in the year 2026. We already know the calendar is going to be misconstrued. It's going to be off, so to speak. Of course, the sun, the moon, and the stars are not going to be off. It is man's interpretation of that. Man's interpretation of the scripture, man's visual looking up there, who saw it, when, and saw what, how, and all that kind of stuff will come into play on this very, 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 very important day. That's why there will be 3 Passovers this year. There will be 3. Friday's been speaking in all Hebrew, those with a rhyme, but anyway. So let's entertain that. You know, we brainstorming here. You know, I don't come in here to preach to you. In other words, tell you the same thing over and over that I think I know. You know, I may once in a while come in here to teach to you, but once in a while. But these live streams are collaborative. Like I was saying at the beginning, you want other people around just for this case so other people can ask questions. So we're going to ask her this one. I'll be willing. We're going to answer it thoroughly. I do have, praise the Lord, Father in heaven, and YouTube. You guys provided us here at the Hillbilly Homestead with a smart board, one of those things like they use in smart schools. And so hopefully we'll be able to show, but right now you're just going to have to listen. Anyway. We're locked and loaded over here on Enoch 70 something, where we at? 71, which is the book of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven. Let me go ahead and read verse 1. All right, I start all over. You know, I read it once. Enoch, chapter 71, verse 1. The book of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven, according to their respective classes, their respective powers, their respective periods, their respective names, the places where they commence their progress, and their respective months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, explained to me, he who conducts them, the whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever, until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. Welcome y'all to Coach in the Fight show. This is a collaborative effort here. And in today's show, we're entertaining the idea of whether we're in spring or if we're still in fall. Oh, I'm sorry. Winter. We're still in winter. Because as the commenter, your Elijah 144 stated, spring does not start until the first new moon after the spring equinox. Here, let me show you scripturally. All right, so we're in this chapter 71. It said, let me read on. It says, this is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east, and on the west of it at the western gates of heaven. Now, verse 1 tells you that Uriel is the one who told Enoch this. And this is important to understand that Enoch didn't just make this up. He didn't just observe this either. He didn't look up at the sky and say, hey, this is how I think this works. No, he was taught by Uriel. And look who Uriel is up there in verse 1. The holy angel who was with me. Now, that's what they mean when they say Enoch walked with God. Because he was walking with Uriel. And it said, he explained to me. He didn't just tell him. Uriel explained to them. So here is a holy angel, a righteous angel. You know, a righteous angel. And that's important to note because, you know, there's people out here who's entertaining all angels and they don't know who's the good ones and who's the bad ones. Well, he lets us know here that this is a holy angel, Uriel. Uriel. Some would call him. He who conducts them the whole account of heaven. Now, this is the one who conducts them. This is the holy angel who conducts them. You can look up the word conduct, but you think conductor on a train. The train don't move until the conductor say so. So this is the angel that's conducting the stars, talking to a human. And this is important to understand that this is the angel who conducts the stars, talking now to a human who is now writing a book for us to understand how they all work. Okay, so now look at verse 2. He says, the first law of the luminaries is the sun and the light. And so what this verse right here is saying is that the first law of the luminaries is that the sun sets. This is where they get the whole idea from, that the day ends at sunset, that the day is over at sunset. When sunset arrives, that day's over. You might as well take a bath, get something to eat, go to sleep, getting ready for the next day. That day's over with. Because Enoch says it right here that the first law, let me read it. Let me read it real slow. That's the chainsaw. He got the chainsaw in the Vestai house. Y'all listen to the chainsaw inside the Vestai house. Hold on. Y'all witnessed that live. Anyway, verse 2. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrived at the gates of heaven. Now, this is the first law of the luminaries. This is the holy angel who has instructed Enoch, saying that the very first thing about the luminaries, the first law of the luminaries, because if you go to the next chapter, let's look at the next chapter. You see in the next chapter 72, I beheld another law. So this is going to be the second law over there, and you see talking about the moon and stuff. We over here in the first law of the luminaries. The first thing you're supposed to know. Anything you think about this for a second. Let me hide the Santa Claus face down. Anybody, if you think about it for a second, who studies the Enoch and says they know anything about the calendar, if they don't know that the day ends at sunset, they don't even know the first thing about thing. That's like being a scientist, calling yourself an engineer, and you don't know the first law of thermodynamics. And if you don't know the first law of thermodynamics, you see how tight your lips are right now? Because you don't know what I'm talking about? That's how tight your lips are supposed to be. If you don't know that the day starts at sunset, you ain't supposed to be saying nothing at all. The second law of thermodynamics proves our Father in heaven is real. See how quiet you are right now? That's the law that says, well, I'll tell you about them. Well, I'll tell you now. The first law of thermodynamics is they forgot him. Yeah, look them up. We'll get back to them. Anyway, this ain't an engineering class, it's a scriptural class. So he says, the first law of the luminaries, the sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are at the east and at the west of it. Now, notice that part. We got to we got to read this real slow. I got my glasses on and everything. The sun and the light. The sun and the light. Because you can have the sun and not the light. Like today is a foggy day, you might not have the light. Or maybe you may not have the light and you may have the sun, and the sun may not be up, but you already got the light. One or the other or both. It says the sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven. So they arrive at the gates. Now imagine you at the airport, and there you are at the gates. The sun and the moon are at the gates of heaven. But notice this comma right here, which are on the east and on the west of it. Now, it's important, like I said, to take this slow, punctuation by punctuation, because in this version, in the Lawrence translation, the punctuation is not always correct. And so you have to really understand and take your time, else you're going to be thinking something ignorant and be off track, be looking real goofy, looking real ignorant. Talking about talking about the calendar, and you don't understand the first law. That's silliness. Come on now. I'm showing you. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven. Now they at the gates. Now notice where the gates are, which are on the east and on the west. Okay, the gates are on the east and on the west. Now see, a lot of people will truncate this verse and say that the first law is that the sun arrives at the east. And now what does that mean? That the day starts at sunrise, right? Why? Because they want to take you backwards. They want to turn your Tawaba and shift your Tawaba to 45 or 90 degrees or 45 degrees, and then tell you that it's a basket and it has something to do with dirt. Like they're going to bury you. Anyway, you better get it straight. These people really trying to kill you. They are literally trying to kill you. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you need to read your Bible. You need to read your Bible. So you can start over there in Revelation chapter 12 if you want to. You need to read your Bible. So it's saying that the sun arrives at the gates, which are on the east and the west. But notice this part right here that they want to leave off. A whole lot of people then clicked off the video and gone. They're like, I got what I need. They done gone. Because they don't want to actually hear the truth. Truth. And so they clicked off. Got their earbuds in, fingers in their ears, listening to some other video on YouTube. So if you take that part out, which could be in parentheses, parenthetical part, which says, which are on the east and on the west of it, then what it's telling us is that the light of the sun and the sun itself arrive at the western gates of heaven. See that last part, at the western gates. Yeah, this is why you went to school. So you can study English and spell it and how to spell. Well, here they spelling it out for you. Like, my opinion is, okay, well, you didn't want, well, who are you? Who are we? Think about this for a second. This is a tangent. Who are we? First of all, we was given the Hebrew, or the Yahawah, the original. We, as a humanity, dropped that and decided we was going to start spelling it out now. But here in 2026, we don't even care about the spelling no more. We've got our own opinion, superseding the spelling. Our opinion is above the spelling. And we thought the spelling was witchcraft. So who are we as a humanity that we have gone past the witchcraft? What are we now? Anyway, all that to say that the sun, the first law of the luminaries is that the sun sets. That's why you got to be like children, because you could have told a 5-year-old that and he'd been like, okay, and kept eating his cereal. But you as an adult need a whole, how long? 20-minute explanation on a verse. 2 verses. You need a 20 because you've grown and got your opinion. And so it take all of that. If you was 3 years old, you wouldn't have, you'd have been chewing the cud like a cow going, and I thought we all knew that. We ain't been in school yet for them to teach it out of us. What y'all talking about? Y'all adults need me to explain it to you? Look up there. Look. You see? Don't look at the sun. Y'all supposed to teach me that. But I'll tell you if I got to, mama and daddy. It's coming today. I'm being facetious or prophetic. You decide. Depends on if you want to be here or not. I plan to. So let's beat this horse one more time. This day ends at sunset. Sunset, not sunrise. Sunset. Sunrise is for pagans who like to act like Paul over there in the book of Acts, where he tells him to, stand in that certain position. So you think you the Pope now, or you waiting to see the Pope at sunrise. Sunrise is for Pope people. Pope people. Go to Acts and read. You'll see it. Read between the lines. Anyway. You don't worship the sun anyway. Sunset or sunrise, you don't worship the sun anyway. See what happens. Look at verse 3. I beheld the gates whence the sun goes forth, and the gates where the sun sets. So now he's showing him the gates. Again, this is a human being instructed by Uriah. And what he's being shown is the gates. the gates of heaven. Now, this sounds weird, especially after we see a show like Stargate. You're like, oh, where these gates gonna lead to? They are star gates. The stars are going somewhere. We ain't. They for the stars to go through. And so what he's showing him is the gates that the stars go through. And we can see them too. They're on the east and the west. Now, the way to see the gates is to go out like now when we're close to the equinox. Of course, it's already passed, but you're right there in the middle. The sun will be in the middle. And when on the east, you can only really see it in the east and the west. You can't see it when the sun is at high noon. In other words, you can only see the gates in the morning and the evening. You can only see the gates in the morning and the evening when the sun is in the east and the west, or the moon is in the east or the west. You can see it. You can't see where they're at, or unless you're got a sundial or something. If you got a sundial, of course you can tell where they're at all times. But as long as they're shining, you could tell. But Enoch didn't have a sundial. He was just him and Uriah, which is us. Like we will be after the pole shift. It's just gonna be us and our Creator, helping us out, and He's gonna show us the gates. We'll be sitting there looking at the gates. And how are you gonna see it? Well, what you will see is that in spring, like now, when we're close to the equinox, the sun comes up directly east, and it sets directly west. But then later on in the wintertime, the sun is going to be way, way lower in the sky, way south in the sky, way lower in the sky, which explains why it gets so cold, because in the summertime, the sun is directly over us and beaming straight down on us. Well, those are two different opposite end gates. The sun in the wintertime is down in the first gate. And then in the summertime, it's all the way at the other extreme now, at the sixth gate. There are only 6 gates, and we'll get to that. Let's go to the next verse. In which the gates also the moon rise and sets, and I beheld the conductors of the stars, among those whose precedes them. 6 gates were at the rising, and 6 at the setting of the sun. Again, notice that the gates are not in the middle. The gates are not at noon time. The gates are in the morning and the evening, because again, if you're sitting there in the morning time, in the winter time, you're going to notice that the sun rises way south. And in the summertime, it's like in June, or in the I should name these months because they're going to change. But in the summertime, when the true summertime arrives, the sun will rise way far to the north. And that's how you tell what gate you're in. And there are 6 gates total. So you think the 4th gate, which is the 4th gate, is the 3 and the 4. 3 and the 4 are in the middle. You have to split the difference between 3 and 4. You 4th gate, because you remember that 6 and 1 are on the ends. 1 is up there in January. That's why the humans decided to have January the 1st as the first day of the year, because that's when the first gate begins. Around that time, that's when the first gate begins. But that's a gate. And so we as humans put it as a month and say, okay, this is when the year begins, because that's gate number 1. But if we make it down here, we're going to see that the year doesn't start at gate number 1. It starts at gate number 4. For like you're in the airport. Just because you're going somewhere new, don't mean you're supposed to start off at gate number 1. You might have to go to gate number 619, C19. You'd be like, what happened to gate number 1? That ain't your business what happened to gate number 1. You supposed to be at C19. Let's get to walking, or you're going to be late. Well, I want to go back to gate number 1. Okay, wait till you come back around on another time and worry about gate number 1. We got to get to C19 first, or we're going to miss the flight. Web not available. Y'all still hear me? What are they talking about? Some web not available. This thing be acting foot squarely, doing all kinds of funky business. Got them. Anyway, I don't say nothing. Doing this with what I got right now, but gotta get some help too. Where are we at? I beheld the gates whence the sun goes forth, and the gates whence, that's in verse 3. We're down here in verse 4. Yeah, because notice that it says the in which gates also the moon rises and sets. So the moon is in the same gates as the sun. That's important to understand. And the only difference between the moon and the sun, because we're not going to get to chapter 2 in this video, the gates that the sun is in and the gates that the moon are in are the same, but the moon travels through those gates every month. Whereas the sun takes a year to go through each gate, 1 through 6 and back. The way it goes is 4, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and keeps going like that. And the moon does the same thing, except it does it monthly. It takes the sun a year to do that, to travel each gate back and forth. And the moon does the same thing monthly. But again, notice that 6 gates are at the rising and 6 gates are at the setting, because, that's when you can actually see them. The way they told time is if they didn't have the stick in the ground, which Enoch didn't even have a stick in the ground at this point. He's just looking. You too can go out there and just look at sunrise and just stand in the same position throughout the year, and you'll be able to see the sun throughout the gates, and you'll know what part of the year we're in. Even if you woke up from a coma and you walked out there at sunrise as you're doing your elevation, you notice the position of the sun. You can pull out your compass and point it towards east, or if you know where the temple at, which is 3 degrees east of me, you can be praying in that direction. And then you can look at the relative position of the sun and to determine if we're in the cold season or if we're in the hot season. And I should say that with an S, the cold seasons or the hot seasons. And then you come back tomorrow and look at where the sun is at relative to where it was yesterday. And you can tell if it's getting colder or if it's getting hotter. And that's what they did without sundials, even without sticks in the ground. And that's what Uriah was explaining to, wish I could say his name right, Enoch. And Enoch is explaining to us. All praises to our Father in heaven. Hallowed be his name. Verse 5. All these, respectively, one after another, are on a level, and numerous windows are on the right and on the left sides of those gates. Now, nobody's really an expert. Oh, you great say you don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about fully. These different windows that are on the sides of the gates. Now, we've done some studies, and these could be actually the other wandering stars. It could be constellations, which means that there are 12 of them. But anyway, we get to those in subsequent chapters, which we won't in this video. Let's look at verse 6, because it says first proceeds forth the great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete with splendid and flaming fire. That's all it is fire. That's all it is. Its chariot, where it ascends, the wind blows. Like I said, nobody understands all of this. I don't know if we think we're supposed to in this dimension, but at least before the pole shift. We will, though. Verse 8. The sun sets in heaven and returns by the north to proceed toward the east, is conducted so as to enter by that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. Now, let's slow down right here, because once again, he's telling us that the day begins at sunset. Up there, he told us it ends at sunset. Now he flat out saying that the day begins at sunset. And those people who want to believe otherwise, then already shut the book and gone on to listen to some other goofiness. But look again right here. First, we back up there at the first part. That's in verse 6. But now he's already looking at verse 7 where he's over our head talking fifth dimensionally again. But then look down here in verse 8. He says, the sun sets in heaven. So first, in verse 6, now here in verse 8, first, the sun sets in heaven and returns by the north. So now if you're looking at those, and I wish I had that fancy picture there where it shows the, I can't have both of them at the same time anyway, but it shows the sun going around the earth like this. It's where you have a flat earth picture where we're looking down at a flat, round earth, like it's on a tabletop. And if we fall, we'll roll off the tabletop down, but we'll roll. Oh, I'm going backwards. It's saying that the sun's going this way. Well, what Enoch is saying right here is that the day begins when the sun is right here setting. And then the sun goes back around to the north. Back around the north. Then the sun rises. And you say, well, why you got it like that? Because, we're looking from a Enochian perspective. If you want to think about the other way, you have the sun setting over here in the west, going around by the north. See how you have north, this is a sundial perspective. This is the opposite perspective. Like if you were looking at the shadow, opposed to looking at reality. You're looking at the shadow. You're saying the sun goes around by the north, and then it comes back to the east where it rises, and then it tells us, what does the verse say? Illuminates the face of heaven. Illuminates the face of heaven. So you notice again up here where it says first. We done pushed another button again. Up here where it says first proceeds the fourth gate, the luminary. Let me read the verse 6 again. First proceeds forth that great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete with splendid and flaming fire. Its chariot, where it ascends, the wind blows. So that's all it done said in verse 5 and verse 6 and verse 7. Verse 5 is still talking about gates. That's the stars. Remember, the whole calendar is based on the sun, the moon, and the stars. So verse 5 is talking about the stars. Now we're talking about the sun. He said first. And now he's talking about the sun. And then down here, in verse 8, he says the sun sets. The first thing that happens is the sun sets. So now, again, somebody who trying to tell you about the calendar don't know that the first thing is that the sun sets. You're like, man, you don't even know the first thing about the calendar. Some of you, I want to tell you about the calendar. Okay, that's a trick question. What's the first thing about the calendar? First, and stress that first, because you remember up here it said the first law of the luminaries, and down here he's saying another first what? In verse 6. First proceeds. And so anybody who don't know that, man, if you're watching them and they don't know that, that's your fault. What happens next? Let's go on. Verse 9. In the same manner, it goes forth in the first month by a great gate. Now, notice this. He's taking it real slow, and we're taking it even slower. Because we're talking about the first month. Again, look at all these firsts here. First month, he's trying to let us know. And it's how us as humans don't want to know. We want our tawaba turned into dirt. And so we flipped it. We changed it, That's what I mean by changing the laws and the times. We changed the times and the laws, doing both in the dirt. But anyway, in the same manner, it goes forth in the fourth month by a great gate. So the first month by a great gate. He didn't say by the first gate, because it ain't the first gate, humans. He said about a great gate. And the thing about the first gate, it's really small. It's tiny. The sixth gate is real small too. That's why you have to hit it twice. Again, it starts 4, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. And then you start the year over again at 4. And if you were looking at it, at the sun, what did we say the sun was rising? Over here in the east. We talking backwards again. If you were looking, okay, here's the middle of the screen. In the east it would be 1. See, I gotta go backwards again. Now you're really back. Like the shadow don't move like that. Okay, so it's gonna go 4. Which way? Oh yeah, you're watching the sun rise. So no, we got to go in reality now. So we got to go to the other side. Yeah, we got to go back. So it's gate 1 in the spring. Oh, gate 4. I'm sorry, gate 4 in the spring, which is right in the middle. And then you're gonna go. I'm gonna go down 3. I'm sorry, gate 4. Then you will be gate 5. Then you will be gate 6. Then you have to hit gate 6 again because it's so small. Then you go back to 5, then back to 4, and then you cross over into another great gate, which is gate 3, and that puts you in fall. So you have gate 3, then gate 2, and then you'll be way up here in gate 1. And then you come back, gate 2, gate 3, where you have to hit gate 1 twice because it's so small. And then you come back to 2, 3, and then the big gates are in the middle, because you're making a big jump. So it's like a big jump, then a not so big jump, then a tiny jump, then another tiny jump, then a little jump, then a big jump, then a big jump. That's what he means by great gates. Now look at verse 10. It goes forth through the 4th of those 6 gates, which are at the rising of the sun. Now notice here he's saying at the rising of the sun. Why? Because this is the part where you're going to actually start monitoring the gates when it rises and you're looking for the equinox. Why are you looking all of a sudden to the rising of the sun? Because it's going to find out it is on an equal plane. And for those of us who have a sundial, we would want to be out there marking it at sunrise and then marking that equal plane all the way across the sundial until it gets to the end. So that we can see next year, if we have it marked out, we can see where it's at. We won't have to wait till the equinox every year. It'll be marked for it. All right. So here it says that it goes forth through the 4th of the 6 gates. Now this is some tricky language. You have to kind of look at, because it's going forth and through the 4th, going forth through the 4th. And the only difference there is a wawa in the middle. And so what this is saying is that it starts in the 4th gate. Why? Because it starts in spring. That's the thing about the human's year. It starts in wintertime. But in the sacred year, it starts in the middle gate, in the 4th gate, in the springtime. And so when you start to realize that we've hidden this book from us humans, then you start to realize how our calendars got off, and then you start to realize how we get back on track. Like in our Tawaba back set, correct. And in the 4th gate, which the sun with the moon proceeds, in the first part of it, there are 12 open windows from which issues out a flame when they are opened at their proper period. So now again, he's talking about the 4th gate. So when the sun arrives at this 4th gate, the middle gate, that's what you have to understand, the middle gate. Not them end gates like wintertime, but the middle gate like springtime. The 4th gate. And in the 4th gate, through which the sun with the moon proceeds. Now, this is what the commenter was talking about. This is this is what Moses was talking about over there in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14, when he said the sun, the moon, and the stars. Here are all four right here. I mean, all three lined up right here, where the fourth being Enoch or us, observing all of this. But what it says is, in the fourth gate through which, so the fourth gate, that's the sun. I mean, that's the stars. The gates are the stars. That's why people who are interested in the lower heavens are into zodiacs, because that's a way of determining really easily the relative position of the earth to the sun. Is where it is the sun at in the zodiac. Anybody who understands all of that can easily look at where the sun is in the zodiac and say, hey, we're in this month because of where the sun is. But those are the lower heavens, and of course we're not supposed to pay too much attention to them. But what they are helping with, those who are using it as a visual aid, what they're actually seeing past those are the gates that the sun is actually in. And that's important to understand, because those zodiacs don't always line up. They don't never really line up. The zodiacs, in other words, the time in which we enter a particular zodiac or a constellation is different. Why? Because the sizes of the constellation are different. And so one constellation is really big, and so we may be in it for 32 days. Another constellation is really small, and we may be on it for only 27 days. And so that's why there's a fluctuation in the months throughout the year as man tries to keep up. But as far as the Enochian sacred calendar goes, no, every month is 30 days, 30, 30, 31 days, 30, 30, 31 days, at 30, 30, 31. And that's the way we have a 364 daily calendar. We don't pay attention to those lower heavens like they are. We're paying attention to the gates, or where the sun is at in the gate. And then the fourth gate through which the sun with the moon. So here is the fourth gate. Now, in the fourth gate, we're going to find out in this same chapter, the fourth gate. Let's go all the way down to the verse. It's down about 44 or something like that. Y'all find it. The fourth gate starts when the days and the nights are equal. In other words, you have the exact same time of the day and the exact same time of the night. Some would think that it's 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime on that particular day, and they wouldn't be wrong. You know, it's just that's the way it's supposed to be. Of course, we have the twilight hour, which kind of puts a gray area in there, or a golden hour, I should say, in there, and kind of adds some stuff to it. But you have the sun itself on an equal plane. If you look at 6 o'clock standard time, not daylight saving time, on March the 20th, you're going to find the sun on an equal plane, whether you look at AM or PM. It's going to be, the sun is going to be cut directly in half by the horizon, just like the Jewish Quadasha, where there's a circle with a line going through the middle. That's a sunset or a sunrise. Well, on the equinox, you will have that at 6 o'clock and 6 o'clock, exactly 12 hours apart. The sun will be completely cut. And like I said, the sunlight will already have been there, which adds that gray area. By the time the sun is cut in half by the horizon, it's going to be bright. It's going to be fully daylight. You're going to think it's 100%. It might as well be noon. It's going to be that bright outside. And so that adds a golden hour confusion in there. But anyway, that's why you have a sundial, because the sundial is not tricked. The gnomon, it doesn't. It's not fooled by golden hours, like us who even still worship the golden calf. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another video, maybe again. Let's go back up to where we was, because this is the crux of the video, or the crux of the comment there in verse 11. And in the fourth, my stomach growling. I'm going to have to cut this video short. And in the fourth gate through which the sun with the moon proceeds, the first part of it, there are 12 open windows. Now, these 12 open windows are what we hear about over here in Ezekiel chapter 46 when it says that the inner courts are opened during new moon day. And that's what this is talking about here, is that these, when we recognize, or not when we recognize, we don't have to recognize it at all, but at the beginning of the year, like what just happened back there on March the 20th, you have, at which you have the moon with it, the sun and the moon together there. At least that's what we're talking about, or we're gonna talk about it thoroughly. You have the sun and the moon together there. This would actually start, and what does it say? Let me go back to the verse. When the sun, and in the fourth gate through which the sun and the moon, so now you have all three, in the first part of it. So that's the first part of it, not the second part of it, because sometimes it does it twice in a particular gate, and that's where they get, the idea of this 13th month from, like we'll have in the year 2026, because during the summertime, or maybe in the springtime, or maybe in the wintertime, and maybe that's what we're talking about, this 13th month, because if the last new moon didn't meet the requirement, and it was a little early as far as I'm concerned. I'm still contemplating the idea of myself. It would be a whole trip when we're winter time. Whoa, but it is what it is. I roll with the moon and the stars, not his opinion, my opinion, your opinion, nobody's opinion. But I wouldn't be mad if we still at winter time. I wouldn't be mad at all. As far as I'm concerned, I ain't heard that summertime spring shower, and too bad all my corn gonna freeze out there that I got coming up out of the ground. Everything gonna freeze, but I still got some extra seed. I can start all the way over and replant the whole field. I wouldn't mind a second. Them lines ain't straight enough for me anyway. I wouldn't mind planting everything out there, corn, okra, and then I would save room for some more watermelon too. I don't even care. Either way. Go wherever the Lord leads, just like you do. If he says it's wintertime, it's wintertime. In the fourth gate, which the sun and the moon proceeds, in the first part of it, like I said, this can be two parts. There are 12 open windows. Those are the 12 months. There are 12 open windows, from which issues a flame when they are opened in their proper periods. Now, to understand the proper periods, you got to go to the next chapter, where he really starts getting into the intricate details of how the sun works. Like you see there in verse 4, where it says the commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. But we're not going there. I will go to verse 5. It says, and at the time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month, 30 days it is with the sun in the gates, from which the sun goes forth. So that's saying that the month began with the appearance of the new moon, which is not in question here at all. From the commenter, the question that the commenter has is, did that moon that just appeared come too early? That's what he's asking. Was it too early to declare spring? I haven't looked into it in that aspect, but we will. Right now, we're just getting the BS part of it, the Bible study part of it, and then we got to go do the scientific part of it, too. Let's see. Let's read the next verse, see if it's pertinent. When the sun rises in heaven, it goes forth through the fourth gate 30 days, and by the fourth gate it is and by the fourth gate in the west of heaven on a level with it descends. Nope, not pertinent. Can't even read it. This is the crux of the video right here. I think the commenter will agree. I don't have the comment right up there. That if the last new moon appeared before the equinox, then that brings it into question. So that brings into question whether we're in spring or the fall. And it's a very important question. It's a very timely question. That is precisely why there are 2 Passovers. Because you think some will be doing Passover now. I know I'm going to be doing Passover now. I don't even care. I like Passover. And so then when it finds out that there is a question and there is a debate, of course there's going to be the need to do it a second time just to be sure. And then those will be those who will think that that's the right time. And then when the true second Passover comes, they'll want to partake in that. And so there's going to be people who are going to be doing 3 Passovers this year. Probably going to be me. Probably going to be me. Unless this question or this, ends up to be asinine, completely moronic, which is not at all. I mean, it's a great question. Turned into a whole video that was supposed to be about something else. Actually even changed my day up a little bit, even answering some of the questions that I've had, because if it turns out that we're in spring, man, am I ahead of schedule? Ooh, I thought I was on schedule, but I would love to be ahead of schedule. I got a lot to do. We're building guest rooms, guest houses, bling, bling, bling. That's what you hear them out there doing. They're building. Bling, bling, bling. We are building. It's probably somebody wanting to build something now. Let's see what they're trying to get. What is these people? Hold on. Reality hitting, y'all. Oh. Like we in the air and flying. Yep. We in the air and flying. Lord, you got to praise the Lord. All God's children got to be. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Family business. I put the do not disturb sign on, so we shouldn't get that anymore. But let's go ahead and close this video out. Yeah, there is some more research to do. No, do not put faith in that. No, do not cancel your Passover plans. I don't care what. Do it twice. Most of y'all ain't doing nothing but reading and praying anyway. Do it twice. Getting baptized, drinking some wine anyway. Some of y'all drink wine every day anyway. Do it twice. Don't skip nothing. Don't let them people trick you out of it, because we don't know. There will be people trying to trick you all year this year. I'm telling you straight up. Because they're going to take advantage of the calendar situation. The calendar is going to get off. Just like we're debating in here. Not debating. This wasn't a debate. This is a brainstorming session. We got to have a breakout meeting on it. We appreciate the commenter for bringing that to our attention. We love this. Thank you, commenter. Thank you. Elijah 144, thank you. For this opportunity to do this kind of research, because you see how many people are getting edified from it. How many people learn how the calendar works based on it, And so, this is great. And like I said, the moon did appear a little bit early for me. It was a day early on my perspective too. I got caught a little bit early too. But what that would do is have us now, we have the opportunity, if we wanted to redo Purim all over again. We would still be in the 12th month. We could still do Purim. I don't want to get ahead. I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to get excited at all. I'm really getting ready for Passover. I hope you are too. But keep your heads up, because if it turns out that it can be proven that moon came before the equinox, yeah, we getting ready to do Purim all over again. This time we're going to try to do 200 pounds of chicken. But in the meantime and in between time, hopefully you're getting your sanctification on. Sanctification means that you are abstaining from being with your spouse and playing husband-wife games. It means that you are washing all of your clothes. Me here at the Hillbilly Homestead, we take that past the word clothes and cloths. So anything that has anything to do with a cloth, we're trying to wash it including bed sheets and all them kind of things. So it's a lot of washing going on. That's where you get spring cleaning from, because after you washed all the bed sheets, now you want to get all the dust bunnies away from under the bed, and so you end up spring cleaning. And so that's what is going on. Hopefully that's going on at your house. Spring cleaning your intra-temple. You're supposed to be sitting by the tabernacle, especially if you plan on getting on the serving on any of these Passovers. You want to be spiritually clean as well. And again, you do so by being sanctified for 7 days. You still got time to start that sanctification process, because you're going all the way to about April 1st when it's time to serve this meal. And so you got 7 days in order to get sanctified. If you haven't done so already, just start abstaining from being with your marital affairs and all of that. Start washing all of your clothes and all of that. Start being prepared to get ready for Passover. If we are early, we are early. You know, we'll celebrate with those who are celebrating around the world. We'll do our part to be more service. If it turns out that we are early, that means we really get to be service, because it's not going to be a Sabbath day for us. It's going to be a Sabbath day for them. That means that we're actually still kind of on the same Sabbath day. So I need to get to work and make the announcement out. But that would explain why we haven't heard a lot so far. But anyway, I'm going to get on that. In the meantime and in between time, go ahead and like this video, share this video. Some very important information. Get people scratching their head either way. It is ending in the unconclusion. We don't know. I don't know. There is still the question whether we are in the wintertime. I ain't going to say there is still the question. There is the brand new question whether we are still yet in the wintertime. We can't go by the four winds. We can't go by lightning storms. We can't go by any. We got to go by the sun, the moon, and the stars. We plan on getting in on that. And if you want to too, jump down in the other comment section and let me know what you think. Hope you got something out of this video. If you did, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Let me go over here and see. Somebody gave a comment and they like, you read my comment. All right, let's read them right quick. Tori Rose says, Shalom. Elijah says, the new moon was on the 19th. Equinox was on the 20th. So the new moon don't count, right? Yeah, if that's true. Royal Princess of the Most High Yah says, Shalom, coach in the fight. Ashapa Shata Shalawama Ahabaha Awara. Thank you, Royal Princess of the Most High Yah. I got to hear her voice for the first time. She called me on WhatsApp. Boy, that I was shocked. I had my daughter here. It was like, listen to her voice. But anyway, she's out there in some island. So we have Elijah 144 says Enoch 71:11 haven't happened yet, fam. He's arguing. 11, the moon wasn't in the fourth gate. I learned from you, coach, and the Rock Bar. Hey, I appreciate that feedback. Hey, stay in the fight, man. Don't start swinging. Throw them punches. Hey, sometimes you got to get in the ring with the coach. Hey, he knows when to duck too. Brandon Monique or Brandy. I'm sorry. Brandy Monique says it was explained that the year ended on the 20th of the equinox and therefore making day one the 21st. All right, yeah, appreciate that. We're brainstorming, y'all. So there is some debate, and that's great. It's a healthy debate. Again, we're early, and so we can have this debate better beforehand than after the fact. Okay, so we got Elijah 144 says, are you saying this isn't the case? Oh, she's talking back with that Brandon Monique and Elijah 144 is chatting amongst themselves. Very good. And then we have Royal Princess of the Most High Yah says, Tawadaha, coach, and Elijah 144. Great understanding. We'll do some more research on this. Just yesterday, realized the moon came in early. All right, y'all. Called me early, caught you early, caught everybody early. May have caught the whole world early. May have even caught the Lord in his feast days early. He may be like y'all early. So we're going to be, do your research too. Let's, I'll start a post on this. Matter of fact, now I'm gonna do a good post on it and see if we can get some people involved from around the world, some people that don't even watch the channel. So when y'all see that post come out, let's start the debate down there. It will be a brainstorming kind of deal. It ain't a we know the answer yet. You know, hopefully by the end of it we will, but I want to get it started early and say, hey, there is the question, whether we're still in the wintertime. And which would mean that Passover will truly be an April Fool's 2026. It will truly be an April Fool's. But anyway, with that, we're going to go ahead and close this video out. If you got anything out of it, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. But leave us a comment down there anyway. Shalom.